7 spiritual awakening signs you can't ignore. Have you ever felt like you're going crazy? Unexplainable sensitivities washing over you, meaningful coincidences appearing everywhere, and a strange feeling that your life no longer fits who you truly are? These aren't signs of madness. They're indicators of something profound happening within you. In this video, I'll guide you through the 7 unmistakable signs of spiritual awakening that many mistake for psychological disruption. Like stepping through a doorway into a completely new dimension of existence, this journey transforms everything. By the end, you'll understand what's happening to you and gain practical tools to navigate this sacred transformation with confidence rather than confusion and doubt. The disconnection before awakening. What if that emptiness you feel isn't depression, but the first whisper of something greater trying to emerge? That hollow sensation in your chest when you wake up in the morning. The subtle but persistent feeling that something fundamental is missing despite everything in your life looking perfectly fine on paper. This might actually be the beginning of your spiritual awakening. Like a spiritual winter that appears barren on the surface, while essential processes happen beneath the soil. This disconnection phase feels lifeless, but is actually preparing your consciousness for spring's expansion. Before the more dramatic signs of spiritual transformation appear, there's often this quiet period of disconnection that most people completely misinterpret. Consider the executive who achieved every goal, the corner office, beautiful home, perfect family, yet finds herself staring out her high-rise window wondering why nothing feels meaningful anymore. Or the young professional who realizes his 5-year plan feels like someone else's dream. This disconnection has a distinctive quality. You experience a peculiar sense of standing outside your own life, observing yourself going through motions that once felt purposeful, but now seem hollow. The question, is this really all there is? Surfaces while looking at accomplishments that would have thrilled you just a year ago. What makes this phase particularly confusing is that it arrives when everything in your external life appears to be working well. You've checked all the boxes society promised would bring fulfillment. Relationships, career advancement, financial stability. Yet there's a growing gap between these achievements and your inner experience of them. This paradox marks the beginning of awakening. Outward success paired with deepening inner emptiness. Your body signals this disconnection before your mind comprehends it. You might experience persistent fatigue, restlessness with tasks you previously enjoyed, or a sense of moving through days on autopilot. Many describe feeling slightly numb, as if experiencing life through a thin veil, while others report unexplained physical sensations. How have these symptoms manifested in your own life? One client eloquently captured this experience when she shared, "I remember waking up one day and realizing I couldn't remember the last time I had truly felt alive. I was doing everything right. I had the promotion, the relationship, even the hobby I'd always wanted time for. But it felt like I was living someone else's life. I was physically exhausted, yet couldn't sleep, constantly anxious, yet couldn't identify why. My doctor suggested antidepressants, but something inside me knew this wasn't depression. It was more like an awakening to the fact that I'd been asleep." This disconnection often gets misdiagnosed by professionals and ourselves. The medical system might label it depression or anxiety. Friends suggest it's just a midlife crisis or phase. You might convince yourself you're just stressed or need a vacation. In response, we attempt to fix the feeling through external changes. You might find yourself shopping for things you don't need, planning extravagant vacations, considering drastic career changes, or questioning long-term relationships. A restless energy drives these efforts, attempts to reconnect with meaning and aliveness. The new car provides brief excitement, the exotic trip offers temporary relief, the affair generates momentary passion, but the underlying emptiness returns, often stronger than before. This disconnection isn't actually a problem to be solved. It's a necessary clearing of space, a spiritual fallow period where the soul pulls energy away from external attachments to prepare for something new. Just as farmers allow fields to lie fallow to restore fertility, this period is replenishing your inner resources for transformation. Returning to our winter metaphor, what appears lifeless on the surface conceals vital preparation beneath. The feeling that something is missing is your soul communicating that you've outgrown your current container, your existing beliefs, identities, and ways of being. The emptiness isn't absence, but presence, your larger self awakening and stretching beyond previous limitations, creating restlessness because it no longer fits within the life you've constructed. This disconnection creates a crucial gap between your old identity and emerging self. Without this gap, Most people continue on autopilot, never questioning fundamental assumptions. The discomfort finally prompts deeper questions. Who am I beyond my roles and achievements? What really matters? What is my life's purpose? The emptiness becomes not a void to fill, but spaciousness being created for something new. It's the soul clearing the slate, creating enough discomfort with the status quo that you become willing to embark on the transformative journey of awakening. This experience is genuinely disorienting, especially when others can't understand. You might feel isolated, questioning your sanity, or worried you'll never engage with life again. The key is recognizing this experience isn't a sign something has gone wrong, but that something is going right, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. This disconnection is the first unrecognized sign of spiritual awakening. Before mystical experiences, before synchronicities and heightened sensitivities, before purpose revelations, there is this subtle withdrawal from the external world. The universe creates space within before filling that space with something new. If you're experiencing this disconnection, don't fight against it or immediately try to fix it. Consider what might be emerging in your life. What parts of yourself have you neglected? What deeper truths have you avoided? What would living aligned with your authentic nature, rather than external expectations, mean? Sign 1. Heightened sensitivity to energies. Those deeper truths you've been avoiding often announce themselves first through your body, not your mind. Suddenly, the colleague whose small talk you tolerated for years feels unbearable to be around. The shopping mall that was merely annoying now leaves you with a splitting headache. Your friends call it anxiety. Your doctor suggests medication. But what if your body is actually becoming a precise instrument for detecting energies that have been affecting you all along? This heightened sensitivity to environments, people, and situations represents the first unmistakable sign of spiritual awakening, one that often arrives before you've consciously acknowledged any spiritual journey. It's as if someone has turned up the volume on your sensory experience, removing filters you never knew existed. The loud restaurant overwhelms your nervous system. The friend who always complained leaves you feeling physically drained. The office building with fluorescent lighting triggers headaches or brain fog within minutes. As your consciousness expands beyond disconnection, your body responds by becoming a more sophisticated detector. Think of it like upgrading from an old black and white television to a high-definition color display. Suddenly you perceive layers of reality that were always present, but invisible to your previous sensory capacity. From a scientific perspective, brain imaging shows that sensitive individuals display increased activity in regions associated with emotional and social processing. Your mirror neuron system, the neural network that helps understand others' experiences, becomes more active during awakening. This neurological shift explains why you suddenly absorb the emotions of someone across from you at dinner, experiencing their sadness or stress even when your day was perfectly fine. Traditional wisdom suggests your body's electromagnetic field becomes more receptive during awakening. Like a radio picking up stations it couldn't detect before, your energy body senses subtle vibrations that remained outside your conscious awareness. This represents an upgrade to your system, though one with a challenging adjustment period. Consider Sarah, a therapist who suddenly found herself emotionally exhausted after client sessions, despite years of professional boundary setting. What changed wasn't her clients or skills, but her energetic sensitivity. She initially interpreted this as burnout, but discovered it was her awakening awareness detecting energetic patterns she'd previously been oblivious to. Her solution involved implementing rigorous self-care practices, taking days completely off, turning off her phone at night, and asking for help when needed. These boundaries became necessary adaptations to her new level of sensitivity. Or take Michael, who could no longer tolerate crowded shopping centers after decades of navigating them with ease. The fluorescent lighting, recycled air, and chaotic energy patterns became physically painful to his system. What looked like developing agoraphobia to his concerned family was actually his energy body providing clear feedback about environments that were depleting him. He needed to honor this new guidance system rather than suppress it. With medication, what makes this sensitivity particularly challenging is that our culture lacks a widely accepted framework for understanding it. You might be told you're too sensitive or imagining things when you report feeling physically ill in certain environments or drained by specific relationships. The medical system often categorizes these experiences as anxiety disorders or psychosomatic symptoms, missing the fundamental energetic shift occurring. Some individuals develop specific attunements to the natural world. Earth empaths become extraordinarily receptive to planetary changes, feeling thunderstorms, moonlight, and sunshine with remarkable intensity. They may experience physical symptoms during periods of intense solar activity, as these magnetic storms affect Earth's fields and, consequently, our bodies. The correlation between solar flares and increased mental health issues has been documented, with empaths often experiencing headaches, mood swings, or heart palpitations during these astronomical events. The distinction between pathological sensitivity and awakened awareness lies in what follows the discomfort. Anxiety disorders create avoidance patterns that narrow your life. In contrast, spiritual awakening sensitivity eventually leads to expanded awareness and deeper connection. After an adjustment period, awakening sensitivity contains intelligence and direction. It provides precise feedback, guiding you toward environments and relationships that support your evolution. This sensitivity serves as a natural guidance system for your awakening journey. Your body provides moment-to-moment feedback about what energies serve your highest good and which deplete you. The physical discomfort in certain environments isn't punishment, but protection. Your system alerting you to energies that no longer match your evolving frequency. To navigate this heightened sensitivity, creating a safe space becomes essential. Your home can function as an energetic sanctuary where you retreat and recharge. Simple practices like spending time in nature, eating clean foods, and physical grounding techniques help integrate this sensitivity. Earth empaths particularly benefit from regular communion with natural elements, forests, oceans, mountains, places where they align with the Earth's baseline frequency. The unexplained physical symptoms, headaches, body aches, flu-like symptoms without actual illness, are frequently part of the body's detoxification process. These symptoms mirror the cleansing happening on a spiritual level, as denser energies are released. Supporting your body with adequate hydration, rest, and nourishment becomes crucial during this time. This sensitivity's value lies in its honesty. Your awakening body won't let you continue ignoring energetic drains you've tolerated for years. Relationships based on obligation become physically uncomfortable. Work environments misaligned with your values trigger symptoms. Media filled with fear creates immediate feedback in your system. The most liberating realization is that this sensitivity isn't something to fix, but a natural evolution of consciousness developing a new relationship with the energetic world. Your nervous system isn't malfunctioning. It's upgrading to perceive dimensions of reality that have always influenced you but remained outside your awareness. This sensitivity represents your consciousness developing the capacity to perceive energy directly, rather than just its physical manifestations. Sign 2. The Great Life Reassessment. While your nervous system upgrades to perceive new dimensions of reality, something equally disorienting happens to your sense of identity. That carefully constructed self-image you've built over decades, the career path you've followed, the relationships you've cultivated, the beliefs you've held dear, may suddenly feel like they belong to someone else entirely. This jarring sense of detachment marks what might be the most challenging aspect of spiritual awakening, the Great Life Reassessment. Picture this. You're flipping through photos from just a year ago. There you are, smiling in your favorite outfit at that important work event, surrounded by colleagues you've known for years. But instead of warm nostalgia, you feel a strange disconnect, as if that smiling person somehow belongs to a different lifetime altogether. The achievements that once defined your worth, the relationships that shaped your social identity, the beliefs that formed your worldview, they all begin to feel like artifacts from someone else's museum. This identity shift is deeply rooted in our human development. Developmental psychology shows us that our sense of self forms through exploration and commitment across various life domains. We try different careers, relationships, and belief systems until we find what fits, then commit to those choices as expressions of who we are. But spiritual awakening disrupts this carefully, constructed identity, triggering a fundamental reassessment of these commitments. Think of your life as a house you've been building for years. During awakening, you suddenly realize this structure may no longer suit who you're becoming. Some rooms feel completely foreign, while others simply need renovation. Which spaces still bring you joy? Which walls feel constraining? This renovation analogy reflects the uncomfortable but necessary process of dismantling aspects of identity that no longer serve your authentic expression. Who am I if not my career? Becomes a haunting question when the profession you've dedicated years to suddenly feels hollow or misaligned. The executive who once thrived on competition might find herself questioning whether corporate success was ever truly her goal, or simply a path she followed to meet others' expectations. The doctor who chose medicine to please his parents may recognize a deeper calling toward healing that transcends conventional practice. Relationships undergo similar scrutiny during this phase. Partnerships formed when you are operating from your socially constructed identity, designed to gain approval and meet external expectations, may suddenly feel constraining. You might struggle to connect with longtime friends as conversations that once flowed easily now feel superficial. Even family roles, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the achiever, might suddenly feel like ill-fitting costumes rather than authentic expressions. The most disorienting aspect is the internal conflict this creates. Part of you recognizes the need to honor commitments you've made to your spouse, employer, community, while another part feels pulled toward a different path altogether. This tension between external responsibilities and internal guidance creates a profound dissonance that can be exhausting. What's actually happening beneath the surface is a critical shift from the constructed self to the authentic self. During spiritual awakening, the facade of this constructed identity begins to crack, revealing glimpses of authenticity that may bear little resemblance to the life you've built. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "I don't even recognize who I've become"? This moment of clarity, though disorienting, marks the beginning of authentic alignment. This process creates external tension as well. Loved ones who've grown accustomed to your predictable behaviors may react with confusion when you begin changing. The husband who's always counted on his wife to maintain their social calendar might feel abandoned when she suddenly needs solitude instead of socializing. Parents who took pride in their daughter's corporate success might struggle to understand her decision to pursue meaningful work with a significant pay cut. Different cultures view this reassessment period through vastly different lenses. Eastern spiritual traditions often recognize it as a necessary phase of development, offering guidance for those navigating this territory. In these contexts, the dissolution of false identity is seen as progress toward enlightenment rather than a crisis. Western cultures, with their emphasis on stability, often pathologize this phase as a midlife crisis, leaving many feeling isolated in their experience. Consider Maria, a high-achieving attorney who built her identity around professional success. During her awakening, she questioned whether the adversarial nature of her work aligned with her emerging values of compassion. The conflict was excruciating. Abandoning her career meant sacrificing not just financial security, but her entire social identity. Yet continuing felt increasingly impossible as her authentic self emerged. James experienced similar turmoil when his awakening triggered a need for creative expression that his stable marriage had long suppressed. The guilt about potentially disrupting his family was overwhelming, yet denying his authentic self became unbearable. What would you do if honoring your authentic self meant disappointing those who've come to depend on your familiar patterns? Though uncomfortable, this reassessment phase serves an essential purpose. It creates space between who you thought you were and who you're becoming, space that allows for conscious choice rather than automatic patterns. This space is necessary for authentic self-expression to emerge. Before building something new in your life renovation, you must first recognize which structures no longer serve you, which foundations remain solid, and which elements need complete reconstruction. The demolition phase is messy, but without it, no new creation is possible. Similarly, questioning your life choices creates necessary space for authentic rebuilding. What makes this phase challenging is that you're simultaneously the house under renovation and the architect designing the new plans. You're both experiencing the dissolution of identity and responsible for discerning which aspects of your life to preserve and which to transform. This dual role requires tremendous presence and compassion toward yourself as you navigate uncertainty. Sign 3. The language of synchronicity. As you navigate the collapse of your former identity, a fascinating phenomenon begins to emerge that bridges your inner transformation with the outer world. The universe starts speaking to you through a peculiar language of meaningful coincidences that appear exactly when needed. These aren't random events, but a sophisticated conversation between your consciousness and reality itself. What Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung termed synchronicity. Jung defined synchronicity as meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by cause and effect. This concept represents a profound relationship between consciousness and reality, an acausal connecting principle, where psychological events connect with external world events through meaningful patterns rather than through cause and effect relationships. These experiences often leave you with a distinct feeling that something profoundly significant is occurring beyond rational explanation. Imagine synchronicity as receiving a handwritten note from the universe, perfectly addressing your current situation in a language only you could fully understand. Consider what happens when you're pondering a difficult life decision, and suddenly a book falls from a shelf, opening to exactly the passage that addresses your deepest question. These moments carry an uncanny precision and perfect timing that transcends ordinary coincidence. The rational mind typically struggles with synchronicity. Our logical thinking, trained in causality and linear progression, instinctively dismisses these experiences as random chance or selective perception. But something deeper within you recognizes a profound truth in these moments, an intuitive knowing that transcends rational explanation. Different forms of synchronicity emerge during awakening. You might notice repeating number sequences like 1111 or 333 appearing with inexplicable frequency. Timely encounters bring exactly the right person into your life at precisely the moment their specific wisdom becomes essential. Thematic recurrences, where the same symbol, animal, or message appears through multiple channels, create patterns too specific to ignore. What makes these experiences particularly significant is their precise relevance to your current life questions or challenges. Jung documented a powerful example from his practice. While discussing a patient's dream about a golden scarab beetle, an actual scarab beetle, extremely rare in that location, tapped against his office window. This extraordinary timing transformed their therapeutic conversation, demonstrating how synchronicity provides exactly what's needed at critical junctures. The psychological perspective on these experiences might frame them as pattern recognition, our minds naturally seeking meaning in random events. Yet the spiritual interpretation offers another dimension. These patterns reflect an intelligent universe responding to our consciousness, guiding us toward our authentic path through meaningful coincidence. Quantum physics offers intriguing parallels to synchronicity through concepts like non-locality and entanglement. Like particles that remain connected regardless of distance, synchronicity suggests our consciousness maintains connections beyond physical limitations. This scientific perspective proposes that our thoughts might influence physical reality through quantum-level interconnection. While mainstream science remains cautious about making direct correlations, these theories help explain how consciousness and external events might interact beyond conventional causality. Synchronicities tend to increase in both frequency and significance as you acknowledge them. When you recognize and express gratitude for these meaningful coincidences, they often multiply, creating an ongoing dialogue between your consciousness and the universe. This reciprocal relationship suggests these events aren't merely random occurrences, but responsive communications within an intelligent field of awareness. How can you distinguish meaningful synchronicity from random coincidence? True synchronicity carries personal relevance that resonates deeply with your current life situation. It often triggers a visceral response, goosebumps, a racing heart, or a profound sense of recognition. Unlike coincidences, which feel entertaining but forgettable, synchronicities leave a lasting impression that continues to unfold with meaning over time. Jung connected synchronicity to the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of archetypes and symbols present in all humans. He proposed that synchronistic events occur when your personal unconscious aligns with this collective unconscious, creating meaningful bridges between your inner experience and outer reality. This perspective suggests these events express a deeper universal pattern underlying all experience. Intuition plays a crucial role in both recognizing and interpreting synchronistic events. That quiet inner knowing helps you discern which coincidences carry deeper meaning and how they relate to your path. Developing this intuitive awareness enhances your ability to perceive the subtle guidance these moments offer. The spiritual perspective views synchronicity as direct communication from the universe or divine consciousness. These meaningful coincidences serve as breadcrumbs along your spiritual path, confirming alignment with your authentic purpose. They often appear most prominently during major life transitions or periods of uncertainty, providing confirmation that you're moving in harmony with a larger intelligence. One client shared how, after leaving a prestigious but unfulfilling corporate career without clear direction, she began noticing hummingbirds appearing wherever she went. These encounters felt deeply significant, inspiring her to research their symbolism. Discovering they represent joy, adaptability, and lightness of being provided exactly the guidance she needed. Within weeks, she encountered an opportunity to teach mindfulness to children, something that brought her profound fulfillment and aligned perfectly with the hummingbird's qualities. What makes synchronicity particularly powerful during spiritual awakening is how it creates a tangible bridge between your subjective inner experience and the objective outer world. These meaningful coincidences validate that your transformation reflects a deeper shift in how you relate to reality itself, demonstrating that the universe responds to your evolving consciousness. While the universe speaks through synchronicities, your body communicates through emotional outbursts that seem to arrive without warning or reasonable cause. Have you noticed yourself suddenly sobbing during a seemingly innocent commercial, or feeling waves of grief wash over you at random moments during your day? These emotional releases aren't signs of instability. They're evidence of a profound internal cleansing process that many experience, but few understand during spiritual awakening. Emotional purification represents one of the most physically tangible, yet widely misunderstood aspects of the awakening journey. This cleansing process involves the systematic release of suppressed emotions, trauma, and energetic blockages that have been stored within your body, often for years or even decades. These stored emotions create what many spiritual traditions describe as emotional baggage that weighs down your energetic system and prevents the free flow of life force energy. The confusion stems from how random and disconnected these emotional releases feel from your current circumstances. You might find yourself inexplicably angry while doing something as mundane as washing dishes, or overcome with sadness while watching children play in a park. The emotions themselves often feel disproportionate to the trigger, leaving both you and those around you bewildered by the intensity of your reaction. These seemingly irrational emotional responses are actually purges. Your awakening consciousness creates the conditions for stored emotional energy to finally surface and release. Like a river that's been dammed eventually builds enough pressure to break through barriers, your expanding consciousness allows emotions that have been suppressed beneath layers of coping mechanisms and social conditioning to finally find pathways to expression. From a physiological perspective, this process has scientific backing. Your body literally stores emotional memory in cellular tissue. Research has demonstrated that traumatic experiences and chronic stress create lasting imprints in the brain and throughout the physical body. This physiological phenomenon explains why emotional release often manifests physically, through tears, shaking, heat sensations, or even temporary pain as the body discharges stored emotional energy. The emotional release process follows a natural pattern. Awareness, you become conscious of an emotion surfacing. Manifestation, you allow it to fully express in your body. Surrender, you let the discomfort move through you without resistance. Release, the emotion discharges through crying, sound, or movement. This process doesn't require analyzing the emotion's source. It simply requires allowing it to move through you. Michael, one of my clients, described his experience during an intense phase of emotional purging. I would be driving to work and suddenly feel this overwhelming wave of grief crash over me. No trigger, no warning, just tears streaming down my face. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. But after the third or fourth time, I noticed that after each episode, I felt lighter, clearer, almost like some invisible weight had been lifted from my chest. This purification process extends beyond your personal emotional history. Many awakening individuals report processing emotions that feel ancestral or collective in nature, grief that extends beyond their lifetime, or anger that seems connected to historical injustices they never personally experienced. This phenomenon speaks to the interconnected nature of consciousness, where the boundaries between personal and collective experience begin to dissolve. What makes this phase particularly challenging is that it often arrives precisely when you're becoming more sensitive to energy. Your heightened sensitivity makes these emotions feel overwhelming, while simultaneously making you more aware of how your emotional processing affects others around you. This creates a double burden, managing your own purification process while navigating others' reactions to your changing emotional landscape. People close to you may express concern, frustration, or impatience with what appears to be emotional volatility. They might suggest therapy, medication, or urge you to get it together. While professional support can be valuable during this transition, it's essential to find resources that understand the spiritual dimension of what you're experiencing rather than pathologizing a necessary healing process. The emotional purification process serves a critical purpose. It creates the energetic conditions necessary for expanded awareness. You cannot sustain higher states of consciousness while carrying unprocessed emotional density. The body knows exactly what shape it naturally should be to maintain optimal health. And spiritual awakening guides you toward this natural state through whatever changes are necessary. This purging process focuses on releasing what no longer serves your emerging consciousness, including unhealthy personality traits, addictions, limiting beliefs, and energetic contracts made throughout your life. In many spiritual traditions, this process is seen as breaking generational patterns and clearing your energetic field of accumulated debris. The intensity and duration of this cleansing varies dramatically from person to person. Some experience a sudden, tsunami-like release that processes years of emotional backlog in a relatively short period, while others undergo a more gradual clearing that might extend over several years. The timeline depends on factors including the depth of stored emotion, your willingness to surrender, and the support systems you have in place. Tools that facilitate emotional release include journaling, meditation, breath work, movement practices like yoga or dance, and sound therapy, which uses vibration to break up energetic blockages. What distinguishes awakening-induced emotional purging from regular emotional reactions is both its contextual disconnect and transformative aftermath. Regular emotional reactions are responses to present circumstances with logical triggers that typically resolve once the situation passes. Purging emotions often arise without logical triggers, or with triggers that seem wildly disproportionate to the response. More significantly, after a true emotional purge, you often experience a profound sense of lightness, clarity, and expanded perspective that simply doesn't follow ordinary emotional reactions. Sign 5. Reality shifts. That profound sense of clarity following emotional release opens a doorway to perhaps the most unsettling sign of spiritual awakening. When your perception shifts, the world you once knew, with its solid objects, linear time, and clear boundaries, begins to reveal itself as something far more mysterious. The fixed reality you've navigated your entire life starts to appear more like a fluid, responsive field of possibilities and connections. For Emma, a former investment banker, this shift began with subtle changes in her visual field. "I was sitting in a cafe when suddenly everything seemed to shimmer with energy," she told me. "The walls, the table, even the people, all appeared to be made of vibrating particles rather than solid matter. It lasted only a few minutes, but it fundamentally changed how I understood reality." What Emma experienced wasn't hallucination, but a momentary dropping of the perceptual filters that normally organize raw sensory data into recognizable forms. This emotional purification naturally leads to such reality shifts. As inner blockages dissolve, your senses begin perceiving what was always there but filtered from awareness. These reality shifts often begin with alterations in how we experience time. Many awakening individuals report moments where time seems to stretch or compress. A 5-minute meditation feels like hours, or an afternoon passes in what seems like minutes. This temporal fluidity reflects a genuine shift in consciousness that allows access to what some spiritual traditions call vertical time, rather than linear time. You experience time as a dimension you can move through rather than a conveyor belt carrying you forward. The way you perceive physical objects changes too. Many report seeing subtle energy fields around living things. A subtle luminosity or vibration revealing the living energy within all forms. Ordinary objects may temporarily appear to breathe or pulse with life. These visual shifts typically come and go, especially in early awakening stages. One moment you see conventional reality, the next something entirely different. These perceptual changes arise without warning. You might be doing something routine when suddenly the boundaries between you and your environment temporarily dissolve. This disorientation feels particularly acute when it happens around others who don't share your experience. You're seeing through different eyes, while everyone around you perceives the familiar world. During spiritual awakening, your brain's default mode network, responsible for maintaining your sense of separate self, becomes more flexible. This allows increased communication between brain regions typically kept separate. The result? Novel perceptual experiences as your brain's reality filtering mechanisms relax. From a spiritual perspective, these shifts reveal glimpses of fundamental reality beneath constructed perceptions. In Buddhist practices, they're seen as glimpses of reality's true nature, impermanent and interconnected. Shamanic traditions interpret them as journeys into non-ordinary reality, where deeper wisdom becomes accessible. Many awakening individuals find themselves living in two overlapping worlds: conventional reality with its jobs and relationships, and an energetic reality where everything appears interconnected. This creates a unique cognitive dissonance few discuss openly. David, a software engineer, described this challenge. I would be sitting in business meetings watching energy patterns flow between people, seeing how certain individuals drained others, how unspoken emotions created tangible fields in the room. Meanwhile, I had to participate in the conversation as if none of this was happening. It was like wearing 3D glasses while everyone else was watching in 2D, but I couldn't mention what I was seeing. These perceptual shifts systematically deconstruct rigid reality models. They create flexibility in how you perceive and interpret experiences. Rather than being locked into a single framework, you develop the ability to shift perspectives as needed. Your relationship with life becomes more adaptive and responsive. It's essential to distinguish between spiritual experiences and psychotic episodes. While both involve altered perceptions, they differ significantly. Psychotic episodes typically involve loss of contact with reality, delusions, and distressing hallucinations. Spiritual experiences generally bring meaning, connection, and personal growth. To navigate these perceptual shifts without becoming disoriented, try practical grounding techniques. Deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or engaging in physical activities like walking or yoga can help. These practices reconnect you to your physical body and the present moment when reality feels too fluid. Many spiritual teachers recommend a balanced approach to integrating these experiences. Don't cling to them as special achievements. Don't dismiss them as meaningless anomalies. Each perceptual shift offers valuable information about reality and consciousness, but becoming attached creates its own form of spiritual materialism. These reality shifts connect interestingly to quantum physics. The concept of observer effects suggests observation influences physical events, aligning with the idea that consciousness shapes reality. The parallels between quantum principles and awakening experiences are striking, though scientists continue debating full implications. The most significant insight gained through reality shifts is recognizing objective reality as a construct of consciousness. This doesn't mean you can manifest a Ferrari by wishing, but suggests consciousness plays an active role in shaping experience beyond what conventional models indicate. These shifts reveal something profound about human potential. If normal waking consciousness is just one configuration of our perceptual apparatus, what other modes might be accessible? Human spiritual practice suggests consciousness can access numerous states beyond our default setting. What happens during awakening isn't adding delusion, but removing previously unrecognized filters. Like taking off colored sunglasses worn since birth, you see aspects of reality always present, but filtered from awareness. The conventional world isn't less real. It's simply one level of a deeper, more complex reality. Sign 6. The body's metamorphosis. The physical metamorphosis your body undergoes during spiritual awakening is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of the entire journey. While your awareness expands beyond conventional reality, your physical vessel must undergo its own remarkable evolution. Strange symptoms that appear with no medical explanation aren't random malfunctions. They're evidence of your body's intelligent adaptation to higher frequencies of consciousness. Think about what happens when you upgrade your smartphone's operating system. The device might temporarily slow down, get warm, or behave unpredictably during the installation. Your physical body operates similarly during spiritual awakening. It needs to recalibrate its entire system to accommodate expanded awareness. This is a tangible biological process happening at the cellular level. Much like installing sophisticated software requires compatible hardware to function properly. Your body's energy systems undergo significant recalibration during awakening. Many experience sudden surges of electricity moving through their bodies, particularly along the spine. These energy rushes manifest as tingling, vibration, or mild electrical currents that intensify during meditation or moments of heightened awareness. Sometimes these sensations become powerful enough to disrupt daily activities. What's actually happening is your nervous system rewiring itself to process heightened sensitivity to subtle energies. Sleep patterns and temperature regulation typically transform as part of this energetic shift. You might wake consistently between 2 and 4 a.m., traditionally called the spiritual hour, or require significantly less sleep while feeling more energized. Alternatively, Intense fatigue might occur as your body dedicates resources to internal transformation. Alongside these changes, many report spontaneous waves of heat or unexpected chills unrelated to their environment. These disruptions represent your body adjusting to new energies and processing spiritual lessons during sleep, while temperature fluctuations indicate your system balancing and adapting to your changing inner landscape. Your physical needs transform at a fundamental level during awakening. Foods once enjoyed might become intolerable, while unusual cravings develop for nutrition previously avoided. Your body requires different fuel to support its transformation, often naturally gravitating toward lighter, plant-based diets. Your digestive system may undergo periods of sensitivity as it adjusts to process different frequencies. Additionally, pain without apparent physical cause, especially along the spine or as pressure in the head, often reflects energy moving through previously blocked pathways rather than actual tissue damage. From a scientific perspective, these physical changes connect directly to shifts in your nervous system and electromagnetic field. During awakening, your body's electromagnetic field becomes more receptive, creating heightened sensitivity to environmental energies once filtered out. Research on neuroplasticity confirms that meditation and spiritual practices produce measurable changes in brain structure, creating new neural pathways that support expanded awareness. The challenge many face involves medical professionals finding nothing wrong despite sometimes intense symptoms. Tests return normal, scans show no abnormalities, and you might be told it's just stress or offered psychological explanations. This creates profound confusion, questioning whether something is seriously wrong or if you're imagining the experience. Traditional medicine simply lacks the framework to understand these energetic transformations, while ancient healing traditions recognize them as intelligent adaptation to expanded consciousness. Energy sensitivity often increases dramatically during awakening. You might feel inexplicably drained after spending time in crowds or certain environments. This represents your body's newly refined sensitivity to the electromagnetic emissions of others. Highly sensitive people possess an immense capacity for empathy, often feeling others' emotions in their own bodies, creating physical effects ranging from fatigue to headaches when exposed to lower frequency energies. Supporting your body during this metamorphosis becomes essential. Integrative approaches help manage these unexpected physical symptoms. Staying hydrated, prioritizing rest, and eating nutritious foods help your body navigate changes more smoothly. Gentle movement practices like yoga, Tai Chi, or walking in nature integrate new energies flowing through your system. Reducing exposure to electromagnetic pollution, incorporating grounding practices, and using salt baths to clear accumulated energies can dramatically reduce symptom intensity. Remember, these manifestations are temporary, representing transition rather than permanent condition. One client described her experience. For months, I thought I was developing a serious illness. I had shooting pains at my back, bizarre tingling sensations in my hands, and would wake up drenched in sweat almost every night around 3 a.m. 3 doctors found nothing wrong. It wasn't until I spoke with someone who recognized these as awakening symptoms that I stopped being afraid of them. When I started supporting my body with the right practices instead of fighting the experience, the symptoms became much more manageable. The most empowering perspective sees these physical changes as your body's intelligent response to expanding consciousness. Rather than resisting these changes, working cooperatively with your body transforms this phase from frightening medical mystery to sacred transformation. Have you noticed any unexplained physical sensations in your own awakening journey? These subtle shifts might be the first signals that your physical body is beginning its own remarkable evolution to match your expanding awareness. Sign 7. The emergence of purpose. As your sacred transformation continues through your body, something even more profound begins to stir in the depths of your being. That persistent feeling that there must be something more isn't random discontent. It's your soul's deepest purpose finally finding its voice after years of being drowned out by societal expectations and practical demands. Purpose represents the culmination of the spiritual awakening journey, the point where all previous signs converge into a coherent vision of why you're truly here. Unlike the other signs which happen to you, this final sign requires something from you, a willingness to listen to an inner calling that may fundamentally reshape your life. What makes this phase particularly challenging is the contrast between your clear inner knowing and the practical realities of implementing this purpose in the external world. You may experience an unmistakable sense of direction internally while facing bewildering questions about how to translate this knowing into tangible action. This tension creates a unique kind of discomfort, one where you can neither ignore the call nor immediately see how to answer it. The emergence of authentic purpose operates differently from conventional ideas of career, contribution, or calling. While society teaches us that purpose is primarily about what we do, our job title, accomplishments, or role, authentic purpose centers on who we are being in the world. This shift requires a profound reorientation. Rather than asking, "What should I do with my life?" the question transforms into, "How can I embody my true essence in everything I do?" Many struggle with this distinction. I've witnessed individuals approach purpose as another achievement to unlock, only to discover authentic purpose resides in alignment rather than striving. One former executive spent years climbing corporate ladders, believing fulfillment awaited at the pinnacle. Only after abandoning external validation did he recognize his purpose existed in the qualities of presence and compassion he naturally embodied. Like a flower finally breaking through soil into sunlight after a long underground journey. Authentic purpose rarely follows a predetermined path. Instead, it emerges through following synchronicities, listening to intuitive nudges, and recognizing meaningful coincidences. This process resembles following breadcrumbs through a forest, rather than consulting a detailed roadmap. Each step taken in alignment with your inner guidance reveals the next, often in surprising ways your rational mind couldn't have anticipated. This approach contradicts our culture's emphasis on planning and controlled outcomes. The rational mind dismisses synchronicities as coincidence and intuitive guidance as imagination. Yet at this stage of awakening, you recognize these subtle cues as the language through which your authentic purpose communicates. Perhaps the most challenging aspect is that embracing your purpose often requires significant life changes that face resistance from others. As you align with your authentic path, loved ones may not understand your new direction or feel threatened by your transformation. Their confusion can trigger doubt and temptation to retreat to your former life. One spiritual teacher describes this phase as the second death. Where the first death dissolved your false self, this second death releases the life built around that false self. This might mean changing careers, relocating, ending relationships, or leaving communities that once defined you. These changes happen gradually, but recognizing their necessity feels both liberating and terrifying. Purpose serves as both the driver and outcome of the awakening journey. The initial stirrings that launched your transformation were purpose-seeking expression. Now, as you approach integration, purpose becomes the vessel containing all you've experienced. This cyclical nature explains why purpose feels less like discovering something new and more like remembering something you've always known. Developing discernment helps distinguish authentic purpose from ego-driven ambitions. The ego attaches to purposes promising external validation and status. Authentic purpose centers on contribution and alignment regardless of recognition. While ego-driven ambitions create anxiety, authentic purpose generates sustainable energy. A useful framework for discerning your authentic purpose explores what emerges at the intersection of your deepest joy, greatest gifts, and the world's pressing needs. This approach recognizes that meaningful direction connects to significant experiences you've already had. Your unique design, including skills, values, personality traits, preferred roles, interests, and spiritual gifts, provides essential clues to your purpose. This journey involves identifying key dimensions of your design. As spiritual traditions suggest, these components collectively reveal your unique contribution. Much like distinct instruments create a harmonious symphony when played together, many reduce their vision to what seems reasonable. Yet purpose often calls us beyond comfort into what some traditions describe as a God-sized calling. Most people maintain dreams too small due to fear and everyday concerns. Embracing authentic purpose requires expanding your perspective to envision possibilities beyond what you believe personally achievable. Purpose emerges through partnership between divine guidance and conscious participation. As your awakening deepens, purpose evolves from achievement to embodiment. Focus shifts from external success to the quality of presence you bring to each moment. Integration requires practical action steps, including developing personal mission statements and creating achievable goals. This process invites breaking down your vision while remaining open to guidance. You'll encounter calling blockers, obstacles hindering discovery of purpose. Fear ranks among the most common, alongside concerns about money, busyness, negative thinking, childhood wounds, and isolation. Addressing these blockers becomes crucial to your journey. What emerges is purpose that feels both deeply personal and universally significant. You recognize your unique path contributes to a larger tapestry of awakening consciousness. As Rumi wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Your individual purpose becomes the integrated awakening of the universal purpose of evolution. Your awakening journey may have begun with disconnection, but that's not where the story ends. Imagine moving through the world where these 7 signs no longer create confusion or resistance, but instead become your most trusted navigation system. Where synchronicities, body wisdom, and purpose aren't occasional visitors, but constant companions guiding your everyday choices. This integrated state of awakening represents a profound shift in how you experience reality. It transforms your perspective fundamentally. You stop fighting against the transformations unfolding within you. When you embrace rather than resist these signs, something remarkable happens. Life begins to flow with a natural rhythm and coherence that previously seemed impossible. Consider Elena, who spent years battling her heightened sensitivity, trying to fix herself through therapy, medication, and self-help books. "I was exhausted from fighting what I thought was wrong with me," she shares. "The turning point came when I finally accepted that my sensitivity wasn't a defect, but a gift, a finely tuned instrument detecting subtle energies and information that most people miss." For Elena, integration meant stopping the war against who she already was. Picture yourself navigating life with this same internal compass that Elena discovered. How might your challenges transform when viewed through this lens of acceptance? The integration process moves in a spiral. Each awakening sign continues to deepen throughout your life. You'll cycle through periods where certain signs become prominent again, though with each pass, your relationship to these experiences transforms. What once threw you into crisis might later feel like a welcome recalibration. This shift represents one of the primary qualities of the integrated state: presence. Presence allows you to meet each moment with awareness rather than automatic reactions. You'll find yourself pausing where you once would have immediately responded, sensing the underlying energies beneath surface-level interactions. Imagine how this quality might transform your daily interactions. What conversations would change if you brought this level of presence to them? Alongside presence comes discernment, distinguishing between fear and wisdom, between conditioning and authentic knowing. You develop a refined internal compass for navigating complex decisions with greater clarity. One spiritual teacher describes this as knowing the difference between the mind's chatter and the soul's whisper. Compassion blossoms naturally through integration. As you witness your own healing process, you develop a deeper understanding of others' journeys. Judgment softens. You see beyond defensive behaviors to the vulnerability beneath, recognizing everyone navigates their awakening in unique timing and ways. Creative expression transforms significantly in the integrated state. This doesn't necessarily mean becoming an artist, though many discover new talents. Rather, your entire approach to life becomes more creative, solving problems innovatively, communicating with greater nuance, and bringing fresh perspectives where others see only established patterns. How might you express yourself if these creative energies were fully available to you today? Relationships undergo remarkable transformations when approached from awakened awareness. Thomas, a business consultant, describes how his awakening transformed his marriage. "My wife and I had been together for 15 years, mostly on autopilot. When I began experiencing these awakening signs, I feared we'd grow apart. Instead, as I brought more presence and authenticity to our relationship, something unexpected happened. She began her own awakening journey. Now our relationship feels both brand new and more deeply familiar than ever before." One profound shift occurs in how you approach everyday challenges. The integrated state doesn't eliminate difficulties. Life continues presenting obstacles and disappointments. However, these experiences no longer define your sense of self. You develop equanimity, remaining centered amidst life's fluctuations. A challenge that might have previously triggered weeks of anxiety might now prompt curiosity. What is this situation teaching me? How is this helping me grow? This reflects understanding that challenges are opportunities for evolution, both personally and collectively. Integration also shifts how you experience time. Rather than living primarily in the past or future, you find yourself increasingly present to the moment at hand. Paradoxically, this presence to now often creates a sense of having more time, even while accomplishing more. Creating this integrated state requires intentional practice. Daily activities that ground awareness in the body, quiet the mind, and open the heart become essential. What practice might help you maintain connection with your deeper knowing today? Many expect integration to happen quickly once they've recognized these 7 signs. In reality, integration unfolds over years. The initial recognition might bring dramatic shifts, but deeper integration involves rewiring neural pathways and allowing your external life to reorganize around your emerging authentic self. This reorganization happens in waves. Periods of intense transformation, followed by plateaus where you assimilate changes. The patience required for this gradual unfolding can feel challenging in our instant gratification culture. Yet there's wisdom in the timing. Too rapid a transformation might uproot your life completely. The spiral nature of integration allows for sustainable transformation that honors both your emerging awareness and human need for stability. What ultimately emerges through integration is a life characterized by meaning, connection, and authentic power. Meaning arises when you align with deeper purpose rather than external definitions of success. Connection flows from being present without barriers of pretense. And power comes from embodying your authentic self regardless of external conditions. Imagine how your life might transform as you integrate these awakening signs fully. What possibilities await when you navigate with this internal compass as your guide? Navigating the challenges of awakening. Option 2 captures the essence of what we need to explore next. The path toward authentic power sounds inspiring in theory, but what happens when your spiritual awakening feels more like a breakdown than a breakthrough? Between all these signs we've explored, from heightened sensitivity to reality shifts, there exists a shadow side to awakening that few discuss openly. Those moments when you question if you've made a terrible mistake by opening this door at all. The awakening process, while natural, can feel completely overwhelming. One moment you're experiencing profound insights that expand your understanding of existence, and the next you're unable to function in basic daily activities. This paradox creates a unique type of suffering, knowing you're evolving while simultaneously feeling like you're falling apart. A profound sense of isolation often accompanies awakening. As your perception shifts, you may find yourself unable to communicate your experiences to friends and family who haven't undergone similar transformations. The language to describe what's happening simply doesn't exist within conventional frameworks. When you try to explain why crowds suddenly drain you, or why you burst into tears during a mundane activity, you're met with concerned looks or suggestions to get help. This isolation impedes your progress. Humans are social creatures, and we need reflection and validation to make sense of our experiences. Without it, you might begin to question your sanity or resist the process unfolding within you. Many awakeners struggle with integrating spiritual insights into everyday responsibilities. Experiencing a profound understanding of universal oneness during meditation differs greatly from translating that knowing into interactions with irritating co-workers or handling tax returns. As one spiritual teacher explains, it's one thing to know something at a cognitive level, it's an entirely different thing to live and embody the frequency of that knowing. This gap between knowing and embodying creates friction that makes ordinary life feel unbearable. The discernment of guidance presents another significant hurdle. During awakening, you may receive information through intuition, dreams, synchronicities, and direct knowing. The mind can cleverly disguise fear as intuition, leading you down paths that stall your growth. Learning to distinguish between authentic guidance and ego-driven fears requires developing a relationship with your inner knowing. Resistance intensifies these challenges rather than alleviating them. When uncomfortable sensations arise, the natural human tendency is to push back. This resistance creates additional suffering. When this happens, notice it and bring awareness to it. Get curious about the mind's fears, suggests one source. The ego becomes fearful of changes and uses reasoning to create diversions that stall the process, making awakening more painful. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, the breakdown of old structures creates space for something new to emerge. What appears as collapse is actually the necessary dismantling of limiting beliefs and patterns that can no longer contain your expanding consciousness. So how do you navigate this terrain without losing yourself? The answer lies in creating supportive conditions that honor both your spiritual expansion and human limitations. building community becomes essential. Finding others on a similar path provides validation and practical guidance that books or videos cannot. Finding a community is one way for us to connect to individuals on the same path, so that we can learn from others and share in their experiences, explains one expert. Look for Facebook groups focused on spiritual awakening, join local spiritual organizations, or participate in workshops at healing centers. When feeling isolated, mentorship from those who have traversed similar territory offers invaluable guidance. Be discerning about who you allow to guide you. True teachers guide us to our own empowerment. False teachers require us to revere them or place them on a pedestal, cautions a spiritual guide. The right mentor will encourage you to trust your own wisdom while offering perspective that helps you avoid unnecessary suffering. To address the challenge of practical integration, establish daily practices that ground the awakening process in routine, creating stability amid chaos. Simple activities like meditation, journaling, or walking in nature provide the structure needed to integrate intense experiences. Many find themselves naturally drawn to nature during awakening periods. You find yourself craving more time in nature, and you find yourself appreciating nature in a new way, listening to the way the birds chirp in the morning sun. This connection with the natural world assists the awakening process. When overwhelmed by guidance, balanced self-care becomes crucial beyond rest and nourishment. Creating order in your physical environment supports your inner process. If creating internal space and stillness is out of the question for you in the moment, then create physical space and stillness instead. The accumulation of physical clutter creates emotional pileup that can stall spiritual progress. Spring clean your house, clear out old clothes in your closet, tackle that pile of laundry. These mundane activities create external order that helps manage internal chaos. Reframing how you view challenges transforms your experience. Consider difficulties as initiations developing necessary capacities within you. The big hairy breakdown is one of those aspects. Sometimes it even takes a few hairy breakdowns to get us questioning. These breakdowns serve a purpose in expanding consciousness. When intensity becomes overwhelming, remember that pausing is also part of the process. Engage with spirituality in more passive ways. Watch interesting YouTube videos, get out in nature. Sit in the sunlight and daydream. Don't push it, hold space for the pause. Taking pressure off yourself allows integration to occur naturally. If you feel lost despite these strategies, simplify your approach. Find something, anything, that feels remotely interesting and take a small step towards it. This gentle re-engagement honors both your need for growth and your current capacity. The challenges of awakening aren't evidence that something is going wrong. They're confirmation that something profound is going right. By creating supportive conditions and viewing challenges as opportunities, you transform what could be a traumatic disruption into a sacred initiation. As we reach the end of our exploration, remember that spiritual awakening isn't a destination, but a continuous unfolding. Each sign we've discussed represents both an achievement and a doorway, inviting you deeper into your authentic nature. The spiral path of transformation reveals your essence beneath layers of conditioning. It honors both humanity and divinity, with each phase contributing to your evolution. Research affirms that this process brings profound fulfillment. Your life's work becomes expressing who you truly are. How will you consciously participate in what's already underway? Reflect on your journey, knowing that each cycle brings deeper understanding and authenticity to your awakening self.